Welcome to Daring to Suck. I'm your host, Grace Askew, a veteran musician, songwriter, recording artist, and road dog who has been living and breathing my craft for over 15 years. Each episode will dive deep into what it truly looks like to be a working artist, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Come roll along with me, tumbleweeds. All right. Welcome to episode 4, season 1 of the Daring to Suck podcast. I'm your host, Grace Askew. And the whole first season of the show, I'm having special guests on to explore the artist's journey. And today's special guest is none other than Miss Lydia Loveless. Lydia is no stranger to the music industry and is a working artist in every sense of the word. She's continued to release music for the past 10 years, touring the world, making her American TV network debut in 2016 on CBS's Saturday Morning. And fast forward to now, she's residing in North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yep.
Cool. And has a new album entitled Daughters and has started her own record label called Honey, You're Gonna Be Late Records. I love that. Thank you so much, Lydia, for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Girl power. No, you're the first female artist I've had on the show, not to make it a male female thing, but I've been needing some estrogen on the show. So thank you.
Sure. Tough to come by.
And I like to dig, this doesn't have to be any sort of chronological kind of, rundown by any means, but I'm very curious, especially with you, because I've been listening to, a bunch of your different records and you have your own genre. Like your genre is Lydia Loveless, your genreless, so to speak.
Cool.
And I'm really curious to hear like, when was Lydia Loveless invented? Because I feel like we all invent ourselves, so to speak, artists. And like kind of what was your earliest memory of finding that part of you that's like authentic to who you are?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Lydia Loveless definitely got invented when I was like 16, which was when I started writing solo music. I had been in a band before that with my sisters, and as that started to sort of dissolve and everyone was going their separate ways, I started writing my own stuff. And I had basically always wanted to be a songwriter, but had no idea how to do it. Like those weren't like the first songs I'd ever written. They were just the first songs that I was like, okay, maybe I actually can enjoy this stuff too.
Awesome.
Like I didn't feel like I was writing what I wanted to hear before that. So
and what made you eventually comfortable with like pursuing being this identity and this artist?
Oh God, I don't know. I was kind of like a hot mess teenager. So I kind of just barreled into things. And I mean, I was super lacking in self-confidence, I think, but I sort of covered that up by being really, trying to be like the tough guy sort of persona. So I don't know that my confidence is all very artificial, but yeah.
I totally get that. I actually talked about that, my own artist journey of like partying as hard as the guys, drinking much, smoking, like that. I totally understand that 100%. And you cut your first record at 15 years old. Because I mean, it seems like you came from music, like a musical background in general. Like your whole family had a band together called Carson Drew. So you were just kind of born into music. And so from the get-go, did you accept that as like your path, or did you struggle with that identity and kind of like battle against it and kind of want to do something else? Or did you always just think, I love music, I want to go this path?
I mean, I always wanted to be a performer, which I think probably comes from being, really shy and needing to like sort of develop like sort of a secondary persona, and it's just fun and energizing. So when I was younger, I was really into dancing. So that was kind of when I was a kid, my goal was to be like a pop star, like dancing choreographer.
We're both kids of like the 90s. So, totally, that was like pop music era.
Yeah, that's like the thing. Yeah. So that was really my plan. And then, as I got older and got more into like wanting to actually write music, that the dancing Broadway star aspect aside. But yeah, but I always knew that I wanted to be a performer or some kind of artiste. I thought I would be like a writer when I was really little, and I always knew I wanted to do something creative. Like I kind of had no use for anything else. So
Preaching. I love it. That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Would you say there was like um, a defining moment in your career when you felt like, maybe you kind of mentioned earlier, like at 16 years old, you found like you had found this artistic voice and you were like, um, you felt like kind of locked into, all right, I'm ready to go down this journey.
Mhm. I mean, it was kind of a series of moments, like finally having a record out. When my first record came out, I think I was like 19. It took a long time for that record to be actually completed. So when that came out and I actually had something to give to people to be
Yeah.
like, "This is my music," as opposed to just like, "Come to my gig at the local bar," or whatever.
Right, right.
Until you have that, you're kind of just kind of blowing in the wind. So, I mean, I think probably that coming out and going down to South by Southwest for the first time when I was like 19 and
And that's when you played a show, a slot for Bloodshot, and you kind of
Mhm.
like were getting these, what do they call them?
showcases.
Showcase. Yeah,
Like
you
a
were
day.
showcasing.
Yeah, it was like a day showcase and it was pretty weird. But I had never been that on that far of a trip to play a show and like spent a good portion of time in the van. I mean, I'd been on like sort of regional tours up to that point, but that was the
From
first time I was
Ohio, right?
like,
Is that you were based in
oh,
Ohio? Okay.
yeah. And it was so that was really exciting, just feeling like, you know, I had a new guitar player who is still in the band, Todd May, and he was like super inspiring to work with at that age. I mean, still, but
Yeah.
especially like, when we met and like clicked and super hit it off creatively, I just felt like really energized and like I was finally on some sort of path to um actually being a better performer because up until that point I'd mostly been playing solo or just with my dad on drums and like I didn't really know how to play electric guitar at all. So I was
Really?
pretty
At
new to
19
it at
when
that
you were like,
point.
okay, gotcha. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
You're
I
so
had
good at
to
guitar too. It's such a part of your
oh, thanks.
brand, so it comes as a shock.
I didn't really get into it until my manager like let me borrow his like semi hollow body guitar and I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. Like I
Yeah.
try to be more guitar oriented.
Yeah. And it's so funny, like, as a guitarist, a female guitarist, or just being a female in the music industry in general, you're surrounded by a lot of men and it's a very male dominated industry, but I never saw it that way. I don't know if you felt that same way. Like I never felt like I'm the one girl in the room with surrounded by all these men. I feel like I have to, I don't know. I just saw it as like human beings playing music together. But
Mhm.
it's like in hindsight, I subconsciously maybe felt like I had to compensate a little bit being a female. I don't know. Did you ever feel like that? Like, did you ever recognize that difference?
Yeah, I think it definitely was psychologically draining without me really realizing it very often.
Right. Yes.
How I already felt like I had to prove myself more because I was super young. Like generally I was always the youngest person in the room basically the whole time that I've been playing music
Which is
until now.
badass, by the way, that you like got such an early
Until now
start.
I'm finally like I get to be the old person there anymore. But yeah,
The sage.
um, but definitely when I was younger, I was like, holy shit, everyone's older than me. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and especially just like old dudes with their like, I don't
Yeah.
know,
Gear talk.
vinyl collections and yeah, gear talk. And I was just like,
Like
I
I
don't
don't know what any of
know
these
what's going on.
amps are. I don't know. I don't care really. I just want to play. Like
Yeah, but also having, a strong passion for music. So I
totally.
sort of learned by just having that, strong desire to be a musician, and learned by, you know, stumbling through all the learning processes, like, playing a damn electric guitar. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were starting to play constantly, basically. You were touring heavily from then on once you got signed. Um,
Yeah, I
you
started,
became official, like a road dog, full on.
yeah.
And what was your relationship? How was your relationship with like road life changed through the years? I mean, did you love it in the beginning and then kind of you got burnt out? And I mean, how has it
It
changed?
was kind of the opposite. I was really terrified to um go on a really long tour, mostly because I just have anxiety being in the car. So I think that was the number one thing that I was not
Damn.
looking forward
Yeah.
to. Um, because I got in a pretty bad car accident when I was a teenager, like when I first started playing music. So I think that really damaged my desire to live in a van.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah.
But then after I did my first two tours, which were like 30 days, I think I just did them with my ex who was playing bass. And that was super easy because it's just two people. We would sleep like in the van in a bed that we made, and like
Yeah.
it was super fun. And I was
Yeah.
traveling, which I never really thought I would get to do. I mean, I always dreamed of like being a touring musician, but I didn't really think about like, oh, I'm actually experiencing like traveling for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting. And I was really into it. It became like second nature. I think after a couple of years, I started to get a little more burned out.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
was reading your bio. I think it was maybe on your website or on Wikipedia. I can't remember, but it was talking about you did get a little burnt out eventually, and which
Mm.
I've been there for sure. And you were touring. Is this correct? You were touring with Jason Isbell and Lucinda Williams, or is that did I read
Um,
that
no,
wrong?
I've actually never played with Lucinda. I've done some really short tours with Jason, but yeah, I did some tours with like the Drive By Truckers,
Nice,
um, Old 97s. I've toured with them,
very
and
cool.
yeah, I think the burnout happened around like somewhere else, which was like which I didn't even realize that musicians were allowed to have burnout until very
Right?
recently, and I'm super grateful to
Because no one ever talks about it, you know?
yeah, it was like who's gonna complain about that lifestyle? But I mean, without trying to sound like woe is me, yeah, I was definitely like super burned out after this. We had done a tour out to the West Coast and then like drove all the way home with like no stops and flew to
God.
Europe and like did a European tour. And I kind of really had like a bit of a nervous breakdown. And after that I started to get into therapy, which was crucial at that time because
Good
I
for
hadn't
you.
really been thinking about like self-care or what I needed. I was like married at a very young age and touring heavily with my new husband that I was already like, what the hell am I doing with
Yeah.
um going through that sort of like early 20s self-realization too at the same time. So it was
Yeah.
a very confusing time, and I think I got super like self-destructive at that period in my life for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally hear that. And coming to the point now, maybe pre-COVID,
Mhm.
had you been touring, you had gone back to touring and formed kind of like a healed relationship and kind of like set some boundaries with yourself, like,
Mhm.
okay, this is what I need in order to function as a
Yeah,
healthy human
yeah.
being. And
Mhm.
you learned eventually.
Yeah, and I mean, there's definitely still mistakes, and I haven't been on tour in a long time anyway because, even pre-COVID, I was kind of taking a break just from some personal issues, and also, not
Yeah.
on the record for a few years. So now I'm like, oh my god, I need to be on tour like right
I
now.
know this record's so good. I know I was listening to it all morning.
I
Yeah.
was like so excited about the prospect of like getting to go on tour with a new record, and then all of my hopes were dashed. But
Yeah.
that's life.
Well, I wanted to kind of get in your own words, how would you describe your genre? Like, how would you describe your music? Because I have a struggle. I can't describe my own music very well.
Yeah. It's hard to do, and it's not like, "Oh, I think I'm so original," or anything.
All right, exactly. It's like I don't like the word. I've kind of come to loathe the word Americana. Honestly, I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it's very blanket, and it's just like I think it just describes, like, any music made without electronic
Right.
devices or something, I don't know, like,
Right. I know.
um, I mean, I like Americana music. I know that that's something I enjoy, but I don't know. I mean, I guess Americana works for me because my music is, a little bit of rock and roll and, like, jangly pop, I guess. I feel like I've definitely evolved over the years, though, from
Yeah.
being very, very Americana and country to um, just being sort of a singer-songwriter. But then I'm reluctant to say that because that's like
Well, no,
the
I think that's a good
solo
way to put
artist
it.
with guitars.
Well, you're a
It's
writer, and it's like
yeah,
I think that's a very a clearer way to kind of define Just that you write your own music, you know?
Yeah, I think that works for me at this point in my life. I used to be really obsessed with like the battle of like writing popular music versus country music, and now I just don't really care. I'm just like,
Yeah.
whatever comes out is probably, there's always going to be like a different style to everything I put out. I would hope is what I aim for, is something a little different every time. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Hey, I hope y'all are enjoying the episode so far. Really quick before we continue, I see these episodes as a form of priceless mentorship, and that's something I always wished I had in my own journey. If you also feel you are getting something of value from these conversations from veteran working artists, there is a way to support the show and keep it going. For just $3 a month, you can become a personal patron to the podcast by joining over at patreon.com/Grace Askew. Or if you'd like to be a one-time supporter, you can name your price and throw in what you'd like to the virtual tip jar at paypal.me/Grace Askew. Either way, your listenership means so much to me. All right, let's get back to the show. What would you say? I mean, I know this is like a cliche question, but I'm personally very curious to hear what your biggest influences are. What artists you
um
kind of, when you were really young,
yeah.
who did you first? Because we all mimic artists when we're first starting
Okay.
out. Did you ever find yourself mimicking someone?
Yeah, when I first started writing, I was definitely trying to be Hank Williams. Um,
Nice.
Not sure that I achieved that. But I was also very influenced by Loretta Lynn, like just like from my mom listening to her, and we would watch Coal Miner's Daughter pretty religiously in our household. And I thought that movie was so inspiring because it's
Mm.
about someone that I could see myself in, a shy young girl who um from a country town, and like finding
Yeah,
herself through this magical guitar that she gets. And like, I don't know, it really
yeah.
inspired me. Bob Dylan was a huge influence when I was younger. He was
Because
actually
your
my first
surroundings, I mean, you
show
grew
that I
up
went
in
to.
rural area, so you
Mhm.
that really obviously influenced kind of what you ended up listening to. And
Yeah, because when I was younger, I listened to a lot of crap that I would definitely say was influential, but we don't need to talk about it. Also, like, but the songwriters that I loved were, I think what was magical to me about Bob Dylan was like watching that documentary "Don't Look Back,"
Mhm.
and just seeing him like strumming his guitar backstage and it looking so natural. Like that to me was just like a moment where I realized, like, oh, I need to learn how to like play guitar, and
Yeah,
so that I can have that like cool, casual like
yeah,
expression of my feelings and thoughts. It just,
yeah.
I don't know. That sounds corny and fake, but it was
No, you
totally
do,
real.
but you have that like just your cadence and your phrasing in your music is very natural feeling to me. It's not put on.
Mhm.
So, what would you say your writing process is like at least now?
Mhm.
Because I'm sure it's gone through an
Uh,
evolution.
yeah.
We all.
Yeah, sure. I feel like I was like constantly just writing like all the time,
Mhm.
and sort of gathering up songs for future projects. And now it's a little more focused. Like right now, I'm not doing much writing at all, unfortunately. But I think the pandemic has really hurt to me creatively.
Oh, I know, because travel can influence, it's like a good breather for your
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, and I love like how you, obviously your whole thing is like keeping creativity alive all the time, and I think you're so inspiring in that sense. Like
You.
I love watching your Instagram videos, and I'm excited that you have a podcast now because I feel like you're just like such a beacon for creativity. I'm always
I would love
like,
to see you like doing weekly live stream, like with just random songs you've written. That would be,
yeah,
I would totally watch that.
yeah, I think that's something I'm really going to start doing because I've been so like reluctant to even begin because I'm just like in that fear stage of like almost
Oh yeah,
wanting and clinging to being blocked or whatever you want to call it. And
I hear you
I
though.
don't know. I'm working really hard on like just trying to do my yoga and stay more,
Staying
centered and
sane. Yeah.
less woo and like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess I'll drink wine and try to forget about, my problems and um,
Yeah.
actually really come back to myself. I think that's pretty important. But I guess that doesn't answer anything about my writing process. My writing process would be it always starts with journaling, just journaling a ton and doing I like to do the morning pages. I'm not super consistent with it, but from the artist's way with
Yes.
three.
For those of listeners who don't know what she's talking about real quick, I just think it's such a powerful tool for artists listening who don't know about it. It's The Artist Way by Julia Cameron.
Mhm.
And it's just you write, she says 3 pages is a goal like that you can stick to, which is great. And it's like a way to get out all of the gunk that's going on in your head before you sit down to actually write a song. It like is a filtration system almost. It's like it can be fun, it can be whiny, it can be fussy, it doesn't matter. And you just don't judge yourself and you kind of keep your hand moving.
Yeah, and it can
And
really be like nothing
yeah,
interesting that anyone would ever want to read. It's kind of what it's supposed to be is
exactly. Yeah.
not interesting. And I think 3 pages is like the perfect amount because like one page is like, oh yeah, I'm really feeling it. Page two is like, what the hell am I even talking? By page three, you're kind of like, I could really be done with this, but I could push myself like a little further and really get all the stuff that's bothering me out or that's
Yeah.
hindering my ability to be honest or actually write something worth a damn. So it's a really good tool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. Um, Not to change subjects completely, but I want to know about your record label.
Hmm.
Like, how did this come about? What made you want to do this? I feel like you're like coming into your own right now with this new record
Yeah.
and the record label, and you've just like,
Mhm.
moved to North Carolina. It seems like you're making a huge shift, but it's
Yeah.
like an empowering shift.
Yeah. There has been a lot of upheaval in my life in the last few years. And like, I think that was sort of my breakdown moment started like, when I moved away from Columbus and, my marriage had ended. And
Mhm.
um, because I feel like I spent a lot of my younger years being a big people pleaser, which
Oh
might
yeah.
sound ridiculous because I was also very much not pleasing anyone in some ways. It's mostly because I wasn't really making myself happy.
Right.
And it's so the past couple of years have been like, what the hell do I want and what is going to make me happy? And it turns out it's really not much. I just want to like make music and not um, have to deal with any or at least not too much bullshit. So I feel like putting out a record on, my own label was really a decision to just sort of cut some of the fat off and
I just love that so much. Like you have put yourself in the power position, which artists truly are. I
yeah.
just the music industry makes us think from a place of lack and scarcity. Like and I've said this so many times on Instagram and stuff, but like, they make us think there's not enough to go around.
Mhm.
There's not enough music. We need them. We need to lean on them. We have to have them, but we really don't, especially with social media. It's just we have so many tools now at our disposal to like find our like specific niche, our
Yeah.
little circle of people who love and get the soul of what we're doing. And you've obviously found that.
Yeah, I think I got really tired of, and it's hard to put this into words that don't sound like I'm trying to be like, fuck you, label, like,
Right.
oh, yo, big wigs or whatever. But like, I do think there is a lot of, in the music industry, people trying to make you feel small and not enough. And really,
100%. Like you're
I
disposable.
can do that myself every day for free. Like, I don't want to have to owe someone money to tell me that I'm
Yes.
doing well enough. So it's like, why not just take that out of the equation and just make music? And
Yeah.
because I know that I would make music anyway if we lived in a society without money or finances, I would still make music. So
Yeah. Exactly.
um, I don't I don't really feel the need to make it like a sad slog. Like I know that's super romanticized um, in people's minds, but it really doesn't have to be any more of a slog than it already is. So
True. It's so true. That's a good way to put it. And I would love to hear like what's kind of your vision moving forward with the record label. Would you
mhm.
say?
I mean, it's hard to say right now because obviously everything's so on
I
hold, but
know.
I mean, I would love to work with like, younger artists. Over like the past year, I've gotten to like go into the studio with like a couple of people and see them like working because my friend has a studio down here. And I don't know, I got to like sit in the studio with this one young girl, and I feel like a jerk because I can't remember her name right now off the top of my head, but she was so like incredibly passionate about her songwriting, and it was really moving to see someone like that hasn't yet been told that they suck or
God,
like
isn't that amazing to see that like purity still? It's like you
she was
forget
just
it.
like happy to be singing and making her songs, and she
Yeah.
was like such a well-adjusted young girl, and I was like, wow, this is like really cool to see, and I would love to be with my label hopefully at some point, someone that kids like younger musicians could come to and not feel like I'm either going to be a gross pervert to them or like tell them that their songs
Right.
aren't good.
Thank you. I know. And it's like, I wish the whole reason I want to start this podcast is to talk to people like you who like can offer mentorship, because I
Yeah,
wanted that for so many years, especially in my
yeah,
20s. I'm 34 now. So like the 20s, your 20s are like the shit show. Like they are
yeah.
like you're slogging it out. Like you're trying to figure out what you want. And I wish I'd had a mentor, like someone like you
Yeah,
who's older and seasoned and like knew what the hell to do.
yeah.
So
My
that's
20s, I
really
could have
cool.
missed being a mentor, but probably desperately needed one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, especially a female, because there are males that you could talk to. You know, I did have men, but like I always wished I had a female to talk to. So I love that
Yeah.
you're doing that.
Yeah. And I think it's been, I don't know, it's just a blessing to not be in my 20s anymore.
God, yes, yes. 30s, the 30s are looking much better so far. So yeah. So what is your current mindset, would you say, with COVID and kind of moving forward? I mean, I know it's hard and a lot of artists not be able to do their thing, and
Yeah.
you know, mental health is such a huge issue
Yeah.
for a
I
lot of
think
us.
day to day, it's so up and down for me, but I'm really trying to make consistency my friend. I think that is
Love
the
it.
only way I can get anything done is if I like, either take a walk or do yoga or some kind of exercise every day just to get out of my head and like do some writing, whether it's journaling or just like making up some dumb crap. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be good. Trying to read a lot and like honestly trying to listen to other people's music more, because I think I can get into a headspace where I'm just like, oh, I can't create, oh, everything is terrible, and like I just
Yeah,
stop appreciating art. So
I get the same
I don't
way.
know, I'm hoping that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I feel like a lot of people are going to be inspired by you for sure. And do you have a website that I can link all this stuff below, by the way,
Yeah,
for our
it's
listeners?
lydialoveless.com is my
And for your
website.
record label, I guess, do you have a website yet, or is that
It's just still my website. Yeah.
okay?
Hmm.
Cool. Awesome. Well, anything else you would like to add? Like some advice you would give to your younger self?
My younger self.
Yes, yes.
Oh Lord, don't smoke and don't use physical exfoliants. I've decided that's my new advice that I would give my younger self. I've decided that I needed to have like a stock answer, but only use chemical exfoliants or you'll
Yeah,
ruin your skin.
I love it. It's true.
That's
Awesome.
solid advice that I could have used.
Well, for our listeners, I'm going to also create a curated playlist of Lydia's entire discography from Spotify and put it into a link down below. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
And
thank
I
you.
cannot wait to hear where you go next with your record label and just new projects and everything. So please, please keep creating.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap, y'all. To see our full conversation, you can go to youtube.com/Grace Askew. You can also go to the Grace Askew Spotify page to enjoy a fully curated playlist for each week's episode. And y'all, don't be scared to slide on into my DMs on Instagram with any questions, comments, or insights you'd like to share. Thanks for listening to Daring to Suck. I'll see y'all next Monday for another fresh episode.